What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt Deville with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Richard Torres Jr. Get this, Richard Torres Jr. has once again called out Moses Atoma, and he had this to say. He said, quote, "I want the fight with Moses Atoma. Let's make it happen. I am a southpaw as well. Everybody wants to know if he's ready for Usyk or not. Look at me. I'm a lefty. I move. I punch. I bring pressure. Let's see how it goes." And those are the words of Richard Torres, and let me counterpunch. Why not? And I say why not because you got these guys, they're both 13-0 with 11 KOs, no losses, no draws, both lefties, one from the USA, one from the UK. And I like the idea of that fight. But, okay, to me, these guys are on the same level. It's just one is pushed because I believe Moses is from the UK. He's with Ben Davison and, and all that. And he's doing a lot. And if he, resume-wise, Dillian White is the biggest name on his resume, but, Dillian White is not the Dillian White of old. That being said, you're looking at someone like Moses Atoma that was looking for a fight, and then we find out that they're trying to get him in there with Pulev to get him a title. So they're trying to promote him to a certain status to get him to get him in a certain fight eventually, right? Whereas Torres is the second American that has called him out, or Moses was in talks of being with, or whatever, right? But if he doesn't take this opportunity, it's just going to look like Moses and his team are overlooking legitimate fighters. Frank Sanchez pulled out of that fight. They want the Pulev fight. Fair enough. Before that, Richard Torres, and nothing ever happened to that. So now Richard Torres is trying to come back and ask for another opportunity, right? And it does come off like they are carefully handling Moses Atoma, which is nothing wrong with that. But the reality is, people, stop calling the man a monster. We've seen his skills against the people that he has been in there with, but the people that he's been in there with aren't monsters. You know what I mean? So if you're just a wolf slaughtering sheep, you're just doing your job. You're just beating everybody that's in your way, but the people in your way are not real dangerous or challenging. So that being said, there's no reason to really keep bigging up Moses Atoma unless he shows us that he can get in there. But they got to be willing to put him in there with somebody. Because if they're not, what's the point? You know what I mean? If he hasn't had that premier fight and the Frank Sanchez fight, now the Richard Torres fight, if the Pulev fight falls through, and then this is another guy, Richard Torres, same record, from another country, rival, right? And they're not trying to fight him, it looks bad. It's a bad look. It makes it look like they're trying to protect Moses Atoma from fighting these particular fighters. And it shouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Because at some point, especially at the rate that he was going, you want him in there with those type of fighters to see if he's worth the shit. Because you can hype somebody up as long as you can, but eventually they're going to get found out about if you put him in there with that particular fighter that could show you why or why not he's a good fighter, or whatever he's supposed to be, right? You're going to see once the level gets elevated to that opposition. You know what I mean? And maybe not, Richard Torres is that guy. But he has to fight guys like Richard Torres because Richard Torres has been in there with Joey DeWaco, Willie Jake Jr., guys like that he's, beat the local yokels. So is Moses Atoma. So the one fight with a washed up Dillian White, that's not really going to show everybody where Moses is at because Dillian White never landed a shot. But you guys tell me what you think of Richard Torres once again calling out Moses Atoma. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace!